Good morning, good people, and we're here at day 3 of Otakon 2023. We've had a lot of good interviews, a lot of good content this year and all the previous year, but this one is truly special because this gentleman over to my left is really a part of what makes this con so special, what makes it operate, the business, the personality, everything that makes Otakon, your destination for one of the best conventions in all of America. I am next to the president, Brian Cutler. Brian, how you doing today?
Good, thank you.
It's an honor to talk to you. I'm going to talk a little about the business. This is day 3 of Otakon 2023. How do you measure success? Because while this is something that's, I've seen many interviews of yours in the past. While this is something that you're very passionate about, something you really care about, there's still a business optic to it as well,
Sure.
too. How do you measure success going into this year?
So generally, I measure success through 2 things. So first is attendance.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that our attendance numbers meet our goals, as well as sort of what size the fires are. Every convention, no matter what they tell you, will have issues during the weekend. This year it was small fires. Yeah, it was little issues like, oh, we need to adjust that. Oh, we can get some rope and stanchion there. It wasn't oh, we have a 2-hour line outside.
Which is important because the heat here was heating.
Oh
That's
my
a
gosh,
word.
and the rain too.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the monsoon yesterday. Yeah, it's been we're getting it all here in the DMV. One other thing, you talk about fires, but this is something that a guest in the interview said, and it's something I knew, but I think it's something I want to continue to verbalize more, is safety.
Yep.
This convention is religiously one of the safest cons, and that goes up and down the scale here. We're talking about being family friendly. We're talking about mid-teens to young adults coming here as cosplayers. You do not hear about those stories that we typically hear within conventions. What has been your focus about safety, and also how do you kind of measure that scaling of, did we have a safe con this year?
Sure. So the safety of our attendees is one of our number one goals, and we do a lot to make sure that all of our attendees feel like Otakon is a safe space for them. Not just safety, but also to express themselves.
Absolutely.
And we do whatever we can to foster inclusivity, and really pushing content as well that is helping drive that message home. And it's personally important, as well as important for our corporation to make sure that if we weren't doing that job well, we would find out and we would do everything we could to correct it, because that's part of our internal goals.
Yes. I want to get a little bit more specific with this because I know from some of my peers who've been very vocal about other conventions they have not been safe at. In the measure of an incident,
Sure.
what are some of the should I say measures you all take in terms of sort of either identifying it or isolating it or mitigating it?
Sure. So we have rapid response teams to respond to any complaints, as well as what we call the on-site support, which is a group of executive staff, which will be notified should anything like that happen, so that we can get to that space, assess the situation, and deal with whatever we need to. If it's someone taking inappropriate pictures, and part of the things that we do, like in the hotel, is we make sure that we're connecting with the staff here, and reminding them that how to behave around attendees, which may be dressed in different ways than they expect someone to be dressed on the street, right? And we have long conversations with the convention center, all of our contractors, reminding them that this is not, it's not the way that you would expect, a medical convention or something like that.
Yeah.
We have to constantly remind our contractors and our hotel staff, and that we're something very, very different from other conventions.
Yeah. I love that, and I think that's important. Even in my profession, I think standardizing practices and procedures across the board is truly what makes the recipe for success. And by Brian's testimony here is like, hey, the Otakon staff is trained, but also you can ensure that the Marriott staff is trained, their physical security is trained, so you're getting that same practice, that same level of security across the board, which is really important. Because if you've never been to Otakon, it does occupy the major convention here in Washington, D.C., but it also occupies one of the biggest hotels in this area with the Marriott that's connected. So wherever side you decide to hang out on, you're going to be safe. And thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my friends would truly appreciate that, because that's not something that is such a norm, should I say? And that's kind of like
I've been to conventions where that was not the norm.
Yeah.
And especially when you're sharing space with another event, it becomes super awkward real fast.
Yeah. Now, something else I noticed, and I don't know if this is by design, but if you come to Otakon staff is typically dressed in an Otakon staff shirt or some type of lanyard or so on. They're easily identifiable. But there also is Otakon staff, maybe it's the community that blends right in. We had a minor. We was looking for some information yesterday, me and some friends, and we were looking for Otakon Safe or Safe Otakon. What's the
Otacare?
Otacare. Thank you. And we approached Otakon staff person, and then another person in cosplay who was super informative was like, "Oh, it's here," and I was like, "Wait, is he staff or was he just part of the community here?" So, is it part of the procedures to allow staff to be blend in, or do you purposely let folks blend in for that purpose?
So we have a number of staff that will cosplay while they're working the convention. We do ask them to make sure that their staff lanyard is on display at all times, or they have some other identifier marking them as staff. One of the things that we've been trying to drive in, and this is has been part of our community for many, many years, is that we want our members to answer each other's questions, because it is far more engaging for them to say, "Oh, I know where the Maid Cafe is," or I know exactly where Otacare is. And it's driving that sort of feeling of family at the convention that's really important for us. But our staff should always be well marked.
Yeah. And the cosplay was so good, so I could have easily overlooked it. So a couple of other really very important questions. I'm sure you're a numbers guy. Have you got the official number for attendees this year?
So the number's still going up. Our registration doesn't close until later today.
How about that? Do you have a trending area about now, or prediction possibly?
Yeah, so we are really close to 41,000. And it's probably going to be 41,000 and some change. And we're going to give the best approximation we can at closing ceremonies, but that's the number right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then, folks, long-standing Otakon attendees. We know that Otakon once was in Baltimore, Maryland, and now we're here at in Washington, D.C. We're gonna stay here in D.C. for a while, right?
That's the plan.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I love it here, and all love to Baltimore. But and I know folks' heart were still connected to Baltimore.
Yeah, but I cannot tell you how many times we go to other conventions, and we say, "When are you coming back to Baltimore?" And I say, we are always on the lookout for opportunities, but right now Washington, D.C. is our home.
Okay. Now listen, I'm going to try to get a scoop here for you all here. We're still very early in day 3, Sunday of Otakon, with Brian being here with this opportunity. I must say, is there a projected date, or do you have a confirmed date yet for Otakon 2024?
Well, I think you can expect to occupy just about the same weekend for the next few years.
Okay, so typically, folks, if you do not know, in a very busy July of cons, Otakon is definitely your destination for that last weekend. So we'll see what those dates look like next year.
Yeah.
Okay. And for you, man, it's just for doing it over the years, and just for the record, again, I've seen plenty of your interviews, so I know. Just what is it about, Otakon weekend for you? I know, again, there's a business aspect of it for you, but when you're out on the floor, when you see your staff, when you see the attendees, when you see the faces whose eyes are so bright because they've never been before, what is it for you?
When I tend to really talk up Otakon to all of my friends, my work friends, my work friends' children, and having them come and be a part of what I call the smallest 40,000 people family I have is really what makes it worth it, because we do hundreds of hours of work, thousands of hours, to really make sure this show happens well. And it's always rewarding. This year we actually got a T-shirt cannon that we were shooting off in our main event space. The kids really seemed to like that, and just that excitement when we finished the first round and they're like, load it again, like that's what made it worth it.
Yeah. I'm going to be very fair here. I feel, especially for my should I say, my con-going spirit inside, that a lot of anime conventions are really cosplay cons. But what I always attest to Otakon is like, oh yeah, sure, you'll get some of the best cosplayers in the world that come here. The convention and hotel space is really second to none. You're occupying a lot of space here, which means when you come here, you have a lot of room to breathe and to bring out your big best cosplay without it being damaged, without going shoulder to shoulder to folks. But the guest list is something that I feel a lot of anime conventions really shortchange folks on. They'll throw a couple of voices out there, which is fair. But Otakon seems to just say, okay, cool, hold my beer. We're going to bring the best folks who's never even touched American soil into America to the convention, make them accessible for you. Ask them questions, get to meet them, get things signed, pictures. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. What is, should I say, the war room when you're discussing who we're bringing in? Obviously, there's a budget aspect to it as well, too. But, like, how does this get planned out? Because last year I was like, there's no way they're topping that. I mean, you have some of the best K-pop stars, Alexa, who I just ran into again at San Diego, who also mentioned that that was her first con from Otakon to San Diego, and she said she needs to come back. I also said she needs to come back. But what is the war room where you're discussing what names are we bringing in this year? So
we start several years prior to actually bringing any guests, laying foundations, trying to figure out when schedules are going to work. We send teams to Japan several times a year to go make those connections and start those plans. And sometimes it's just schedule, sometimes it's budget, and sometimes it's serendipity. When we were able to get guests in 2021 from Japan to come here, that was super special, because we were one of the only events in the United States that had guests from Japan that year. So we try and target things, and then we make it work eventually, is the way we like to look at it.
I love it. Now I got to go for the scoop really quick again. Any hints at who may be coming next year?
I can't divulge any of that yet.
And last question for you. What has been your proudest moment in your position, your tenure here with Otakon?
Honestly, it's the huge amount of growth that we've experienced over the past few years. I and my team have done a lot of work to really make the space work better, and I think that the attendees have felt that and have come out and forced to really have a good time with us. So that's been personally rewarding.
That's awesome. Listen, this is a very special moment. Brian, one of the hardest, if not the hardest working person here at Otakon, that really makes the gears turn here. And I had the opportunity to talk to him for about 10, 15 minutes here. I'm going to cherish this forever. But if there is a will, if there's a way, I would love to talk to you each and every year, because I'll be back here each and every year. And hopefully you folks will be here each and every year. Brian, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous.